Sorry, Genesis chapter 30, verse 25. We're only going to do a couple of verses at this part. Genesis 30 and 25. 30 and 25. And I'm, of course, going to be reading out the NIV. And I do want to say this about the NIV. All right? It's not the greatest translation of the Bible, right? It's just my favorite, okay? It is not the greatest translation of the Bible. There are a lot better, not better, but, there are a lot of different translations of the Bible. The NIV was translated in 1978, which is close to when I was born. So I just connect, okay? But all of them say inherently the same things. There are some strange differences between the two and how they feel like words should have been translated and blah 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 blah. I kind of I always reference the King James when I'm doing stuff, but I don't always read from it because it's written in Old English, and King James version was translated in the year of 1611, and in 1611 they just didn't talk the same. And so sometimes we're not even reading because of the translation. We're trying to figure out what they were saying because English was different in the 1600s. So that's why I don't like reading, but I do have to reference it sometimes just to make sure because the NIV does some funny stuff sometimes. Anyway, so we're going to be in the NIV. This is not a funny verse. Genesis 30 and 25. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob then said to Laban, "Send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. Give me my wives and children for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. You know how much work I've done for you." But Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Let me introduce you to my sermon today, and it's an interesting sermon that we're going to call The Effect of the Overflow. I like that. Amen. The effect of the overflow. I just want y'all to know, when I was thinking about this message, I was thinking about it with the young people in mind. It's like God speaking to me about the importance of how we need to make sure our young people are connected. Not necessarily that the message is specifically for young people, but it's just young people just kept popping up in my head. Anyway, all right, here we go. Buckle up. Ready? Now say amen. Amen. One more time. Say amen. Amen. All right, y'all don't have to be Pentecostal in here for a second. I ain't never been nobody's Pentecostal. All right, church, buckle up. Here we go. We're going to jump into the world of, believe it or not, fusion energy. Fusion energy. And I'm 100% sure most of you have never heard of it before. It's the science of turning atoms into rock stars. And it's actually cooler than it sounds. Well, to nerds. It's actually cooler than it sounds. And by the end of this, you might even be able to explain it to your little cousin and still sound like a genius. So anyway, fusion energy. Imagine if the sun had a teeny tiny little baby, and that baby powered your Xbox and your lights and your house and your fridge and kept all your leftover pizza cold, and it created a charging station for your Tesla just by a teeny little atom. That's fusion energy. It's basically what the sun's been doing for billions of years, taking tiny atoms and smashing them together like sumo wrestlers until they stick. But here's the thing, instead of getting like nasty sweat, these tiny little wrestlers just make massive amounts of energy. Lots of it. Enough to power and the TikTok addiction for an eternity. It's the science of taking tiny atoms, smashing them together at unimaginable temperatures and unleashing massive amounts of power. Scientists say fusion could solve the world's energy problems, providing clean, unlimited power. But here's the catch. Here's the one teeny catch. To make it work, everything has to be in perfect alignment. The plasma, the magnets, the reactors, all have to be held together in a delicate balance. It's the process where the right conditions could lead to an overflow of energy that could light the entire world. And when I was studying that, not specifically for purposes of this message, but when I was studying that, I find it insane of how science discovery can look more like God than we care to admit. So many things can happen when you come into alignment. See, you might not understand alignment, but anyone who spent a little time trying to figure out which career path to go on, you do some odd jobs here and there, and you're trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, a dime and a nickel. I just got to make sure y'all awake. Then in the midst of one day, you stumble upon something that completely aligns with your existence. You stumble upon purpose. And what happens when you align yourself with purpose? No need to do odd jobs here and there because your alignment with purpose is what pays you. You don't have to chase money no more. Money chases you when you're in purpose. My wife said to me several weeks ago, it might be several months ago actually, she said, I have worked every job anyone could ever think of. I've done work at a teller at a bank. I've been a receptionist at urgent care. I done worked as a secretary at the high school. I done worked as a waiter at the Olive Garden. I done worked as an admin on Capitol Hill. And that's just scratching the surface. But all of these odd jobs, I ain't never made near as much money as I'm making in this season. That's because you don't align with purpose. Because there's power in alignment. There's power in alignment. Yeah, and I know y'all quiet. Y'all might not believe me. So you done been in bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship. It was always some drama. It was always some tomfoolery, always some stupidity happening, just nonsense. Then God sends the spouse your direction that aligns with you. Then all of a sudden, the drama you've been living in takes a back seat because now you're in alignment. And what did the alignment do? The alignment completed you in parts of you didn't know were incomplete. You're doing things you ain't think you was ever going to be able to do. Now y'all coming out of debt together. Y'all building credit together. Y'all buying properties together. Y'all building business together. Why? Because you come into alignment and there's power in alignment. There is supernatural power coming into alignment. And that's why sometimes I'm out here, I'm talking to y'all about tithing every week. I could just get up here and raise the offering, but I'm trying to talk to you about tithing every week. And I'll just say it because everybody else be saying it. I'm saying it. I'm trying to get you aligned in your financial covenant. It's not because I need y'all money. Because like my wife so gracefully told the leaders this past Wednesday, okay? She said, we ain't do no fundraising to start this church. We ain't do no capital campaign. We ain't do no Kickstarter. Everything you see here, all this stuff you see here is because we did an alignment. Because it was alignment. We lack nothing. A month or so ago, we lack nothing. A month or so ago, my mother dearest, asked me, she said, you're doing a lot for the church. How much debt you in? None. None. We have things that churches that have been in existence for years wish they had. There is power in alignment. There is power in alignment. That's the favor of God. See, when you align with him, when the covenant and the obedience in your life come together, the result is power. The result is overflow. But wait, let me not make this sound easy. Let me not make this sound easy, because the path to alignment is a show enough process. You got to kiss many a frogs to get to a prince. Not you. You got to kiss many a frogs to get to a prince. If there wasn't no process, you got to question if it was God. It was real easy. You got to question if it was God. I talked about Lady Keisha like her life is easy. This wasn't easy. She may look like a beautiful teenager. She may look like the beautiful teenage princess. Every time she step out the house, I tell you, she will not step out the house if she don't look like a princess. But she got over two decades of work experience before she got here. And see, while I think fusion energy may sound cool, it's not slated to actually be a usable source of energy for another at least 20 years. Because coming into alignment is a process. Because coming into alignment is a process. And Jacob's story gives you somewhat of a picture into said process. Jacob saw this beautiful woman, Rachel, and just instantly fell in love. Oh my God, she gorgeous. Instantly fell in love. So Laban, Rachel's father, a little tricky. He saw it as an opportunity. Oh, you want to marry my daughter, do you? You can marry my daughter, but, as a matter of fact, I'd rather you marry my daughter so she don't got to marry some stranger. But before we can get to this marriage part, I'm going to need you to do some work for me. Let's say 7 years before I allow you to marry my daughter. And Jacob is excited. He's like, what? 7 years ain't nothing. Have you seen how fine this woman is? I could labor for a mere 7 years. Grab me the shovel. Jacob labored for 7 years just for Rachel. And at the end of the 7 years, he went to Laban and said, well, I've been working for you for 7 years. Time to take that wife. Now, Laban, being the wealthy opportunist that he was, he said, cool. I'll bring her to you when the sun goes down. And Jacob gets excited, gets himself a shower, puts on his scented oils, getting ready for his wife, his new wife, a wife he done labored for. Now, side note, you got to remember that thousands of years ago, there was no lamps at nighttime, right? There's no light at nighttime. They didn't have lamps or street lights or electrical lines. So when it was dark, it was dark. Anyway, so in the depth of the night, Laban sneaks not his daughter Rachel in, but his older daughter Leah in. And Jacob's like, this is my wife. It's about to go down. And it wouldn't be until the morning that Jacob would realize that the woman he was laying with was not Rachel, whom he had spent 7 years laboring for, but it was her older sister Leah. Now, Jacob's pissed. Wait. No. Hold on. Wait. This was not our agreement. No. I didn't agree to the older, less attractive, less perfect sister. This is not what I labored 7 years. What is happening? Let me pause parenthetically, like a preacher would say, so you can understand the feeling. You know the feeling when you do the work, but the check don't come in right? Amen. Wait. This is not what we agreed on, sir. This. I had plans for this check. This is not right. I got bills and landlords breathing down my back. This is not the right check. Jacob got duped. And then when called out, did Laban fix the problem? No. He was like, ooh, my bad. My bad. Must have been a mix-up in HR. I don't know if I can get that fixed. Then he had the audacity to say, to Jacob, so here's the thing. The way we do it around here is you got to marry the older sister first because she unmarried, and then in another 7 years, you can marry the younger one. You don't need to stick around for another 7 years. So if he loved Rachel, Jacob had no choice but to say married to Leah and to wait for Rachel for another 7 years. Oh, another pause parenthetically, like a preacher would say. There are far too many people who read this story and try to make sense of the weird marital practices and strange sociological order of the ancient Near East. There are so many people who try to use the ethical agreements of ancient civilizations from thousands of years ago to somehow try to manipulate you into believing that they are biblically correct. It's an absolutely maniacal buffoonery by people who have absolutely no idea what God's intention of the Bible is. And let's be clear, we're not letting no Christian man or no so-called man of God tell you that somehow instructing women, that God is somehow instructing women to be part of his polygamist marriage. Call that man out as the witch and the warlock that he is, who is trying to harness the power and the influence of the Bible for his own personal human gain. Tell him, back up with me with the witchcraft. Back up from me with the witchcraft. We done talked about this already. So ladies, don't let none of these so-called faith leaders convince you that because it's written in a time period of ancient culture, the Bible supports you being a second-class citizen to men. I want to say this real clear. Don't let these fake wannabe alpha male Christian tricks trick you into believing that the God of the Bible supports misogyny. He does not. Your body, your existence, your freedom is not owed to any. It's not owed and does not belong to any man. So, just saying, we don't need no witches and warlocks attempting to cast spells on the people of God. Because just because it's written in the Bible does not make it biblical. Oh, I'm on a side note. That's a statement. But just because it's written in the Bible does not make it biblical. And that's a strong statement for another day. Because slavery is in the Bible, but slavery is not biblical. And just because they practiced slavery and they weren't cognizant of its gross immorality does not mean you get to practice slavery. You're a buffoon. Just saying. I got to get back on track because I'm on a tangent, but we're talking about things that in our society are ethically unethically immoral. So I want to make sure we understand that this is not that culture. We are in this culture, right? And so anyway, let me get back. I'm on a tangent. The point the writer is trying to make in this story doesn't actually have anything to do with what happened in the story. The point the writer is trying to make in this story doesn't actually have anything to do with what happened in this story. Jacob had to come in alignment with the will of God. In order to come in such alignment, he had to go through a treacherous process that included years, of decades actually, of manual labor. A process that included having to marry Leah, a woman that he didn't want, a woman that was not a part of this deal. Then having to be married to that woman he didn't want exclusively for 7 years. Before being married to the woman that he actually loved, that he actually wanted. The story just keeps you on edge. Oh my God, will he get the woman he loves, or will he just be toyed with by a crafty manipulator? Whatever will happen. And if this external, this story looks like love and manipulation, scandal and drama, just ratchet like we like it. Just ratchet, we like it. It's like watching Bad Girls Club. But we have to remember that this story in the Bible is not about Jacob. It's not about Laban. It's not about Leah. It's not about Rachel. The story of the Bible is about God. It's about God's desire and his relentless determination to never give up on the humanity that he loved. So the first 7 years, God prospered Laban so much that he would pull a fast one on Jacob to keep this gravy train going. So in the second 7 years, Jacob had to be married to the sister of the woman he loved, just to get to the woman he loved. Ratchet. Ghetto. Here's an interesting plot twist. In the second 7 years, when he was married exclusively to Leah, he began to have children with Leah. Then, when he was allowed to marry Rachel, he also had children with Rachel. Altogether, he had 13 kids. 13 kids with different baby mamas. One was a girl, 12 were boys. 13 kids. I'm going to say 2 baby mamas, but because I know the story, we know that it wasn't always the person. It was sometimes the handmaid. But again, different culture. But then different culture. In Genesis 29 and 32, he had Reuben. In Genesis 30 and 29 and 33, he had Simeon. In 34, he had Levi. In 35, he had Judah. In Genesis 30 and 6, he had Dan. In 30 and 8, he had Naphtali. In 11, he had Gad. In 13, he had Asher. In 18, he had Issachar. In 20, he had Zebulun. In 24, he had Joseph. Why does all this matter? Why does all that matter? Because the 12 sons became the beginning of the birth of the 12 tribes of Israel. Because his 12 sons became the beginning of the birth of the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes, his purpose was that big. His purpose was to birth Israel. He was chasing Leah, Rachel. His purpose was to birth Israel. So don't get distracted by all the noise and the drama. Be so distracted that you miss it. This story is not about Jacob. This story is about the birth of the 12 tribes of Israel. God was using Jacob to birth Israel while Jacob was running after Rachel. Because the greatness God has for you, you are very, very likely to be unaware of its existence. The greatness God has for you, you are very likely to be unaware of its existence. You just can't figure it out. Why is my life not normal? Why is my story so freaking dramatic? Why was I born in this family? Why do I keep having to go through all this mess? This ain't normal. It's ghetto over here. Then we can't forget about Laban. See, Laban isn't aligned with God. So he doesn't necessarily see God's plans. And you can tell by his behavior that he's thick into the witchcraft, thick into the sorcery. He likes to manipulate the situation and pull the puppet strings and make things benefit him. And you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me, my word, that he's a dirty little sorcerer. We can just look at the place where we find ourselves in the text. Genesis 30 and 27. But Laban said to him, if I have found favor in your sight, your eyes, please stay. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. I have learned by what? I have learned by what? I have learned by what? Meaning Laban liked to play with the witches. He liked to play with the witchcraft. That's the one thing about messing around with that divination. You can see some things, but you cannot see the plan of God. He had a very narrow view from his vantage point. That's why you should stay away from that witchcraft, from that divination. It's not worth the risk of the demonic influence that comes with it. Because it ain't the same as demonic. But you risk demonic influence when you come in it. That's why y'all know nice witches. Just saying. Not. That's why y'all know nice witches. You can see some things when you're using the supernatural for your own gain. You can see some things. This is not in my notes, but some people are like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let me go to a palm reader. A palm reader who uses supernatural things for their own use. The problem with the palm reader is you can see some things, but you can't see the will of God. They can tell you something, but you can't see the will of God. And you'll never be able to see the will of God. Laban had amassed so much wealth that he didn't want Jacob to leave because he knew that if Jacob left, the favor on Jacob would leave with him. Laban knew that his prosperity was intrinsically connected to the presence of Jacob in his vicinity. It was connected to Jacob's presence in his vicinity. Jacob didn't even know. Jacob was so favored. He was so favored, but for his own selfish gain, Laban wouldn't let him go. Jacob didn't even know. He was running after Rachel. Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. I love her. He was running after Rachel. Jacob didn't even know. He thought he was running out. He didn't even know. Because let me tell you something, church. We're coming upon a season for those who are aligned with the will of God become so favored that everything you touch, everything you connected to becomes blessed. We're coming to a season that those who are aligned with the will of God become so favored that the favor will hit everything you're connected to. I mean, it's one thing to be favored, but it's another thing to be favored so much that it's contagious. It's a thing to be favored so much that it's contagious. Just stand near me. Just stand near me and you might catch it. Pay attention, because pay attention to your connections in this upcoming season. Because there might be some manipulators that want to eat from the fruit of the favor on your life. There might be some manipulators that want to eat from the fruit of the favor on your life. You're going to have to pay attention to your circle in this upcoming season. Because there are going to be some people who want to manipulate you so they can pull what you got from God. You chasing love, but they want favor. You chasing this, you chasing that, and they want to stay around you because if they move, because I'm not in alignment with God. I ain't got no relationship with God. I don't got nothing going on with God. So if I move from them, this season coming up, it ain't just about me. It's about everything connected to me. this season coming up, it's not just about me. It's about everything connected to me. Let me tell you this. This is a stop chasing money season. This is a chase alignment and watch everything fall into place season. This is a stop running after chicks and dudes season. This is a get into alignment and watch the plan come together season. This season, these seasons don't come through that often, and I ain't never wrong about it. Am I wrong? Never. I ain't never wrong about it. Your job is simply to focus on alignment and watch the favor pour out of you. Your job is to simply focus on alignment and watch the power pour out of you. Some of y'all done seen it already, so I ain't even being prophetic to you. It done hit your family, it done hit your household, it done hit your kids. That ain't a coincidence. It's a season of favor, and it's pouring out of you. It's not a coincidence. There's a season of favor happening right now when it's overflowing out of you. Ooh, I'm going to say it one more time because y'all don't understand, because y'all be a lot more rowdy if you did. If it's a season of favor, there is a season of overflow, and it's pouring out of you. There is a season of favor. Y'all don't get this. Y'all. This was exciting to me when I was doing this. There is a season of favor, and it's pouring out of you. Because as we walk through the story of Jacob and Laban and Rachel and Leah today, we've seen that alignment with God is not always an easy process. It's not a straight path. It's often not obvious. But it's a path filled with purpose. And the beauty of alignment is this. When you align with His will, you're no longer walking alone. When you align with His will, you're no longer walking alone. You're no longer striving in your own strength. His power is flowing through you. His favor is overflowing in your life. But alignment begins with one critical decision. Alignment begins with one critical decision. And that decision is surrender. That decision is surrender. And surrender not easy. Surrender not easy. Surrender means I got to trust God when I don't trust the system. I got to tithe when I know that some of these churches out here ain't right. Because tithing ain't about the church. It's about you and God. I got to do things when I know I got to trust the system. I got to trust the system that I don't believe is looking out for me. I got to trust God when the system not looking out for me. I said trust the system. That's not what I meant. Lord, that ain't what I meant. I don't know if y'all know me for more than a day. Y'all know that ain't what I meant. But it mean I gotta try doing it my way, and I'm ready to let it go. I'm ready. I'm ready to let it go. I'm ready to follow you. I want to step into the purpose you've prepared me for. I want to step into the purpose that you prepared me for. You know, y'all come. You know, some of you are sitting here today and this word has hit your spirit.